Greetings and welcome back to my channel, guys. I hope everyone is happy and all of that good stuff. For those of you who are stuck in traffic, I feel for you guys. It sucks. But anyway, let's begin with this video and go back to the Dragons of Krynn, so hit the intro. So in the previous video we talked about the beginning of the Dragons of Krynn. How awesome is that? So let's begin with this video. For a time, Krynn knew no fear of evil dragons, for they were all bound in the Dragonstones. And the mighty gold dragon Aurikon, leader and teacher of the good dragons, had instructed that they be buried deep beneath the foundation of the Kalkist Mountains. Generations of humans have passed, and young dragons of the light matured. Chromatia, the mighty red dragon in voluntary exile, plotted and schemed by manipulating the dwarves of Thorin, who had excavated deep into their own home and were easy prey for the Red's intimidating threats. Chromatia recovered the Dragonstones over the course of centuries, returning to the dwarves every 100 years and demanding another tribute. During this time, she raised her own children from the nest high in the mountains, and the chief of these worms was the mighty Deathfriar. Deathfriar recruited an army of Bakali for his mother, just as she herself regained her orc followers. The two Reds made plans to free the trapped dragons throughout a ritual conducted over the Dark Lady, one enormous volcano in the Kalkists, one of the legendary points upon Krynn where the abyss connected to the mortal plane. Hurling the stolen Dragonstones into the fiery crater and calling upon Takhisis' aid, the volcano explodes and the stones were destroyed, freeing all the captive dragons. Some legends claim that the stones were lifted into the heavens and becoming the eyes in the Dark Queen's constellation. Others assert that the stones are buried somewhere in the Kalkist, still strong in magical power. The most long-lasting effect of this ritual was the creation of the Lords of Doom on the site of formerly occupied by the Dark Lady. This provided the ideal location for the corruption of the good dragon eggs thousands of years later. So essentially, the Dark Lady was one huge volcano, and when they went through with this ritual, releasing the dark dragons, the volcano exploded and creating 3 smaller volcanoes. And those volcanoes are not small by any measure. The Chromatics Dragon's next great assault on the forces of light took place hundreds of years after their last defeat. But this time, Chromatia's army was much larger, and she had her son Deathfriar with her. The elves, her bitter enemies, were by this time a fully invested nation under the wise guidance of Sylvanost, and the 3 brother mages were masters of ambient magic. Despite the overwhelming assault of the orcs and the Bakali and the airborne attacks of the chromatic dragons, the mages were able to draw upon the deep magic of the world and raise protective shields around the elven realm. This held the dragons off long enough for the metallic dragons to become aware of Chromatia's attack. Aurikon was not willing to risk his young charges in open battle against Chromatia's dragons, so he engaged them alone. His confrontation with Chromatia was as epic as the last one, but this time he was able to deliver the fatal blow to the Red Matriarch. Unfortunately, while Aurikon was engaged with Chromatia, Deathfriar worked his great magics to locate the young dragons of light, and led an all-out evil dragon's attack on their lair. The battle was fierce and brutal. When Aurikon finally returned, only a handful of his charges were left alive. Weakened from his own battle with Chromatia, Aurikon kept Deathfriar occupied long enough for the survivors to scatter to the 5 corners of Ansalon, but he himself was killed in the process. Deathfriar ignored the scattered dragons, thinking them out of his way, and returned to finish the war in Sylvanesti. The ogres and Bakalis arranged their forces around the besieged realm, unable to pierce the magical shield of the brother mages. Still, it would not be long before Deathfriar's armies would break through, so the mages petitioned Sylvanos for permission to draw upon the deepest magic of the world and overcome the dragons. The speaker agreed, so it is said that the 3 elven sorcerers enlisted the aid of Iskion and the collected knowledge of their time with Auricon in the great and terrible conjuring of wild magic. Raw and furious, this ritual succeeded in unleashing magic, the likes of which has not been seen since the dawn of the world, to smite down the dragons, orcs, and the Bakali. However, the mages were not able to control it. Storms of wild magic erupted across the continent, bringing many years of widespread disaster and ruin. The mages vanished, reportedly taken by the gods of magic and given the secrets of high sorcery, so that such a catastrophic use of magic will not be repeated. The elves would take centuries to fully recover from the war, but they had prevailed. The dragons of light, separated and no longer together as nestmates, devoted the next few hundred years gathering strength, forging new relationships with the elves, humans, and other mortal races, and keeping alert for the return of Deathfriar. The Great Red did not surface again for over 1,000 years, during which time Knights of Solamnia rose from the Empire of Irgoth and the world changed. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I enjoyed making it, and we will see in the next one the 3rd Dragon War, that is the best documented dragon war of them all. Of course, after the War of the Lance, because that is modern times. The next war we are going to meet heroes like Humad Dragon's Bane and Hart, the silver dragon mount that he rode and fell in love with. So we'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely day.